Good morning. Hold up, Philly. Good morning. Thank you guys so much. This is day 3 of the Black Enterprise Entrepreneur Summit. We are so happy to be here joining you in Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. We just had a great discussion. And I want to say thank you again to Dr. Mark Lamont Hill and Derek Dingle. So we're going to get right into our next discussion, cryptocurrency, the future is now. How many of us are into crypto? Raise your hand. How many of us are not into it but interested in learning more? Okay. How many of us have already started making millions from crypto? Not yet? Okay, well, get the notepad. Okay, right there. Get the notepad out. We're going to have to take some notes so we can figure this out. So this discussion will provide an inside look at some of the cutting-edge technology that is taking the world by storm and sparking new investment opportunities that are earning millions. The rise of blockchains and NFTs are changing the way we approach our digital world and creating new strategies for making more money. But the market is also volatile, so is it really a safe bet? Now, 19 Keys and Ian Dunlap, unfortunately, will not be joining us. However, we have 2 experts on hand, 2 of Philly's finest, who will break it down for us. Joining us is Steve Bayonne, founder of Skyton Crypto University. He is one of today's driving leaders in making cryptocurrency education accessible and engaging to the average person. A visionary and shape-shifting the cultural landscape for cryptocurrency utilization, Steve is driven by the understanding that cryptocurrency can not only improve the standards and practices of the existing global economy, but can also create a level playing field for people of marginalized communities to attain real wealth and financial freedom. He's joined by Kevin Dolce, a seasoned business development strategist who brings strategical new business, finance, and partnership insight experience to a vast array of clientele. He especially lends his expertise to those who are sometimes indecisive about testing the investment waters in this economic climate. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to Steve and Kevin.
Wow. Thank you, everybody, for having us today. I was talking to Steve in the back, and I was discussing for us to be 2 Haitian Americans, first generation to be on this platform right after celebrating our country's Independence Day this past Wednesday is just an amazing moment for the both of us. And to allow us to come up here and speak on cryptocurrency, which Steve specializes in, and what the future holds moving forward is just an amazing, amazing moment. So, Steve, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Gotcha. We're in unprecedented times now, so I like to kind of open up to give, the audience, you guys, a perspective on where we're at, financially in the world. So 10% of the richest Americans own 89% of all stocks in the United States, right? So that means there's not much left in that space. The richest 1%, this is just last year, attained over $6.5 trillion, and that's during a pandemic, right? So we're talking about the Great Reset and wealth transfer. So they amassed $6.5 trillion. Billionaires in America got 54% richer just last year. Wow. Right? So they've almost doubled their wealth at this point today in 2 years of being in this pandemic. And then the final one, which is the most jarring one, is there's about 493 billionaires just last year that were made during the pandemic. So that's about 1 billionaire every 17 hours. So as I'm doing this research the last couple years, because you think of the wealth transfer, so the most wealth is made during times like this. The only stat I could find on African Americans was by 2053, our net worth, family net worth, is going to be 0. Right? So that's jarring to me. I've been a serial entrepreneur for over 25 years. I'm 44 now, married with 2 children. My wife, an amazing, amazing individual. She's a really a big reason why I'm on this stage at this point now. So I definitely want to give it up to her. The support at home is crucial, right? Because since my daughter was born over 11 years ago, that was the last time I worked in a formal office, setting. I dedicated just being home and being present. So when the pandemic hit, it was a home game for us. It was like, that's nothing, right? So we dug into each other. So as I'm watching things transpire during these times, at the time, I'm a real estate developer. So I've been in consumer retail, I've been in consumer health products, and then my last role as a real estate developer, which I still am, just kind of watching the market from afar, I started to just really reflect, right? Because it was the first time in history we had time, right? Because you couldn't tell me when 2020 came, that wasn't going to be the year, right? So every time the clock strikes 12, it's like, this is the year,
Yeah.
right? This is our year.
Sure.
I remember taking a trip to Vegas in January right before, and that was kind of our last break before, the March shutdowns. And I'm knee deep in projects in Detroit at the time. I had a few real estate development projects going on. And I had to kind of manage those from a distance, and not only managing the projects, but managing people's well-being at the time, right? Every single one of my contractors were sick. Some almost passed away. So I'm like, there's got to be more to this hustle, right? Because it's the first time I'm really like, because you want to separate the personal from the business at all times, right? This is what they teach you. But when it's like public health and safety, and I have guys saying, hey, Steve, I can do it, right? I need the money. So when you look at the stats that I just stated, I'm just like, this is not fair at all, And I'm a guy who, for 25 years doing this and never working for a company, in those times, I could appreciate the way, as a collective, we pivoted in the moment, because this was supposed to bury a lot of us, right? So I like to just let you guys know, and definitely thank you guys for the time, that there's only 4% of the world population is invested in cryptocurrency right now. So it's still ground level and it's still early, right? But we're missing out on the wealth transfer and the way things are done today. So now we're just talking about a technology that's going to transcend tomorrow.
So Steve, I have a question for you. Coming from real estate development, how did you really make that transition into crypto? What made you get into cryptocurrency?
So in 2015, I was introduced to crypto by a undergrad friend of mine, a brilliant mind, and we're in the same peer group, but I always considered him a mentor, Jason Lewis, if he's probably watching live now. And when he put it in my lap, and again, it's all about the rooms and the opportunity and the people and that's how information flows. So Jason was really big in the real estate sector, capital raising. That wasn't really my thing at the time. So when he introduced me to this through his network, I took a look at it, and the first thing that jumped out at me was it was a word, decentralization. So meaning there is no gatekeeper, no central person or entity is in control. So in 15, I'm sitting with it, and I'm like, damn, this could really, if this is for real, this can change. This is a game changer, right? So in real estate, the one thing I could tell a lot of people is no one can outwork me when I put my mind to something. And I realized in that development game, no matter how much money I returned to my private lenders, it was always, where are you now, right? So the finishing line keeps moving on me. And I'm like, how am I in this country coming up with all these great innovative ideas, and I'm not on this Forbes list yet. And that was then, right? I have a different type of mindset now. The harder I worked, the more I spent. Technology was just, taking over at that point. Meaning, if you didn't adapt to the changes, your company failed or just wasn't with the times. And this is what I was going through in my 20s and 30s, right? At this point, we're in New York now, just putting everything together. So again, crypto, to me, is the ultimate leveler, right? When you get the information and you apply it, you'll start to realize, again, 4% of the world's population is in crypto. 100% of the world population in a decade has to be in cryptocurrency, right? So we're very early at this point. So blockchain technology, and I'm not going to go too deep into the definitions, and this is one of the reasons why the university is so successful now, is because we can make it easy for the common person to understand what all this means, right? It's not as difficult as they make it seem. So blockchain technology is what the internet is today. Like, if I ask you what the internet is, you may not know how to define it, but it's a piece of technology that you can build. So it's almost a layer one that you can build products on top for everything that we have now. For me, the way I define like blockchain technology and what makes it decentralized is blockchain technology is what's going to keep white men honest in America. Right? Write this down. Blockchain technology is going to be what keeps white men honest in America. So when you have a system of people that could come together and share information without one person owning it, meaning we all have to validate that what you told me is true, what you told me, and then finally it gets to the end point and the transaction's done, you create a new ecosystem that's needed today just to save humanity. We're not even talking about money at this point. It's just when information doesn't flow to everybody or currency doesn't flow to anybody, it's off balance, right? The stats are jarring, guys. We have to get it together, and crypto is the ultimate leveler.
So with all of that being said, right, and all the knowledge and background that you have being in the space since 2015, 2016, I know that you created a university that educates individuals like ourselves to really expand and understand cryptocurrency. Can you tell us a bit more about that university?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So 2020, we're all in this pandemic. We're sitting around. We don't know what's happening, right? Wife and kids can't leave the house. I'm 2, 3, 4, 5 in the morning just going out to the store, grabbing what we need, wiping things down. So now I'm sitting in the office, again, a few real estate projects, trying to get through. Cryptocurrency comes back up again. So I was in crypto in 15, heavily invested. 2018 was what they call the Black Swan event, is when it's a major event that causes catastrophe, and cryptocurrency crashed. It was quiet at that point, so I ended up putting it down. My investments stayed. 18, 19, 20, still watching the market, and everything's starting to grow a little bit more, so then I pick it back up again, and when the pandemic picks up, I have time for crypto. I start day trading cryptocurrency. So now I'm making the most money ever sitting at home with this technology. I'm by myself in this. So I'm looking around, I'm like, shit, the amount of money that I'm amassing from my home office with this technology, as fast as it's growing, right? So the pandemic really sped it up. It sped up a lot of things in technology. I go on a few journeys, and I get a premonition that says, Steve, you have to help people. And I've always been that type. In any company that I've owned and ran, it was always people first. And early on in dating my wife, she watched me struggle and a lot. And she's just like, Steve, I don't understand how it's us first, right? But I've always had a mentality, and I told her, I said, listen, I know I could always bounce back from things, and I care about people. Right. So I'm not going to cut them, even if it was, it's a short-term pain for me, but I play a long game. Mm-hmm. So I've always cared for people. So when I'm dealing with the crypto and making this money, now I get this vision, Steve, you have to teach others. You have a responsibility and a duty. And I just couldn't escape it. and that's when Skyton Crypto University was born. Prior to that, I was conducting Sunday calls with friends and mainly friends and colleagues, giving them free information on crypto. The guys were dialed in. We talked for 5-6 hours on Sundays, right? Giving them everything I had on the industry. And then, once I left that particular, blueprint, that's when I said, you know what, there's a bigger calling. Yeah. I opened up my social media. It was always locked. I was, just a real conservative guy, family guy, and that's all I had on my page. Yeah. And now I'm making this transition into not only public speaking, but a great duty in handling one of the greatest shifts. So, being first generation Haitian American, my father came here in the 70s, and the opportunity was just coming from a third world country. This is the place, right? No matter what you do. So he was he worked with his hands. I watched him take care of people. I watched him navigate the United States with no credit. So we had no financial literacy growing up. So I compare crypto to what the dot-com era was. So if my father had the information then, and he would have invested in tech then, it's a different story now. Right? The trajectory of our legacy shifts, right? And not only the investment part, but I think the important part that we have to realize is once you start to understand what this technology is going to do for you as an individual and as a business owner, you can pivot and make those shifts years before your counterparts can. And this is where we're at right now. So this is a mirror image of the dot-com boom and bust, right? So the exact thing is going to happen.
So with that being said, my friends and I, we always say this together. Not everybody is made to be an entrepreneur, but everybody should invest, right? Everybody should be an investor, whether it's in crypto, whether it's in real estate. Right now with the boom in crypto, I'm hearing terms such as blockchain, NFTs, the metaverse, of course, cryptocurrency, Bored Apes. Like, can you give me a bit more insight on what those things are for somebody who's more novice trying to get into the space? Because I know there was such an NFT boom last year and during the pandemic where everybody was buying digital artwork that was selling for $1 million. And, it just didn't make any sense at that time. But now, I know within the metaverse, there's people having art galleries where they have Bored Apes for $400,000, digital artwork for $400,000. Like, it's mind-boggling to me. Can you give us some more insight?
Yeah, for sure. So the industry has a lot of sectors built into it. So cryptocurrency, blockchain, smart contracts, NFTs, metaverse, the list goes on. Right. The one thing I can tell you guys, and we're not going to get too deep into the nuances, when you become part of the university, it's all laid out for you. The one thing they all have in common is they're all technology and software companies, period, right? So when we think of everything that we use today, Apple wasn't Apple when it first came out. We're talking about a stock that was 18 cents. Yeah. But it was the technology behind Apple, the technology behind Amazon, right? So we're facing the same exact stuff now. The only difference is what we just named, these sectors, are really going to disrupt the way that we do business. Right. And we're at a point in history now where I truly feel nature's just taking over and it's going to do what it does. But we finally have arrived to that point where our information and who we are, right, is no longer owned by a particular entity for them to do what they please, right? Right. They control our thoughts. Like I tell my students in university, it went from intuition to information, right? So we've lost a lot of ourselves with the stuff that's fed to us every day. And we don't realize how much control they have in the old system. So with these new systems here in technology, it's being built by a bunch of kids that are 20, early teens to late 20s. These kids aren't affected by the past. So when they build these things, they don't build them with, racism in mind or, not sharing of wealth and information. Like they don't follow that ideology, right, just because they're so far removed from it. So when you have this piece of technology that says all things for all people, and I'll give you an example, I was able to take out a loan against my cryptocurrency in less than 6 minutes, right? And it was a good sizable loan with no social security number, no name, no address. The algorithm doesn't care who you are. So that's the power of crypto. If I have $1 million in cryptocurrency right now, there's companies out there that would lend you 50% loan to value. I could pull 500,000 before we get off the stage.
Wow.
And they don't know who I am, right? It's a leverage game. So that's an example of what happens in this space. So when you mentioned the NFTs and things like that, we don't teach that at the university. NFTs to me is going to be the biggest, that's going to be the boom and then the bust,
Okay.
right? And we're already seeing it. The reason for those jarring numbers that you see, you have to remember, if I've been in it since 15, guys have been in it since 2009, they're picking up Bitcoin for $30, $40. Today, it's 30K. So I could afford to buy a piece of art for millions of dollars because my basis point is not there. So these aren't people who are coming into the space with $1 million fiat US dollar and saying, yeah, I want to buy that. We've already amassed our wealth. So now it's just like, it's a playground at this point. We're just playing, right?
Yeah.
So you have to be well positioned and educated in the space because there's a lot of great sound bites every day. Every time you Google it, there's something amazing happening. But you can get eaten alive in this space, right? It's unregulated. It's the wild, wild west.
So I'm starting to see different companies begin to regulate it through now you can put money into your 401k and trade with Bitcoin. Is that something that's going to continue to grow moving forward, or?
Right. So I'm speaking to my wife last night, and I told her, I said, we're in what I call the fourth quarter with 2 minutes left, right? We're up. And the reason I look at it in that way is because I know that the institutional money is waiting to come into the space, right? This is when we're going to cash out at that point, once you're in position. The reason the institutional money hasn't come in yet is because the regulations aren't here. Okay. But everybody is building out some sort of space for this space because no one wants to, we call it FOMO, fear of missing out. There's no corporation that wants to miss out on this wave, right? So it's an unprecedented time now because the information I have is not only lucrative, but it's also scary, right? Because I'm looking at it from different paradigms. And because I've been on both sides of the fence, because I grew up in the inner city, right? Because I went to college and ran my own business, I can see things from a lens that most people can't, right? Because I'm still connected deeply to my people, yeah, and I can still play the corporate boardrooms and everything in between. Yeah. So, I appreciate being on this stage here because, I am getting phone calls now to do more speaking engagements, and a lot of it is coming from Fortune 500 companies who want to know, listen, how can we sell people product in the new age, right? And I sat with that for a little bit, and it's like, the checks are great, right? Right. But the setup I can see. So I don't want to be the one delivering the message to corporate America of how to sell black people on more shit that we don't need. So going back to where and why I formed the university, we offer an array of products. And my students are watching now, and guys, I thank you so much. And they call me Crypto Moses, right? For many reasons.
Making it biblical.
Right? I'm parting these seas. It's just like, yo, let's go. So in the university, we give you a foundational understanding of what crypto is, right? Because regardless if you want to understand the space or don't, we're talking about the first time in United States history that the dollar is going to be disrupted by technology. So in 15, when I mentioned that word decentralization, today it's not decentralized, guys. This thing is going to be, the controls that they're going to have in place are going to be beyond what you could ever imagine, right? So when they need you to do something, they'll be able to press one button, right? Turn your car off, turn your access off, right? Because this is what happens in technology.
I think the only thing that's really scary for me, really learning about the crypto space, is that there are a ton of different coins, right? So you have Bitcoin, you have Dogecoin, you have Shiba Inu, and it feels as though those coins can be easily disrupted by, Elon Musk going on Twitter and going on a rant about a certain coin, what insight can you give us on how these coins can be easily disrupted and what coins can't be?
Okay, so it's a great question.
Yeah.
I like that. Dogecoin is probably something that all of you heard about, right? It was the first people's coin, right? So just showing you the power of technology and the power of just people when we put our heads together, right? Group economics. And I'm not talking about just black group economics, just economics. Dogecoin came out and they were able to have a market cap of $85 billion, right? Yeah. So this is an internet phenomenon, meaning I know so many people that retired off of Doge. I have students in my class that are sitting on millions of dollars from this coin. They knew nothing about cryptocurrency. They were just in position, right? Mm-hmm. You had a little bit of money during the pandemic for, because we didn't have to trade time for money, and then money was flowing. So when money flows in this country, circumstances get better.
Right.
So Dogecoin was that opportunity for people, right? That was spearheaded by Elon Musk. Mm-hmm. So just showing you, and I'll give you an example. So for my development company, it's called Skyton Development.
Okay.
And just so you guys know, just a little backstory on Skyton. SKY, my daughter's name is Skylar, and then my son's name is Princeton. So I kind of took the two names, and that's where Skyton was formed. So SKY for Skylar, and then the TON on the end of Princeton, and together it's Skyton. So everything my wife and I do as a unit, I carry the children into it. So for Skyton Development, we're working on creating a cryptocurrency coin.
Wow.
Now, what you guys need to figure out is when you start looking at these projects is you look at the utility, meaning what's the case use behind it. So if Dogecoin, which was, and this is fact, the owner said it, it was a joke, can raise $85 billion, right? And a lot of African Americans were in this, right? Nurses, retired. What can we do when we could put out the right project? So with Skyton Development, one of my biggest issues was I was the developer who would go into areas and gentrify them. Mm-hmm. I buy low and sell high. When I got out to Detroit, again, life path number 9, I'm a humanitarian, so is my wife, again, caring for people. It didn't sit well with me that I'm buying a home from an African American who lost it due to taxes, right? Mm-hmm. And then I'm fixing it and selling it to the highest buyer. Right, which is usually Caucasian. I stopped that model, right? My wife and I own a brokerage in New York where we've housed the homeless since 2015. It was the most unsexy thing you can do in New York City real estate, but it's, again, connecting the dots. At the time, it was a check, right? I wasn't too heavily invested in, right, to where I'm at, but now when I sit back to look at what was created from that, it's what got me on this stage today with helping people. So when you can appreciate what this technology can do, right? Because there's two sides to the technology. Right. There's going to be what these white men do with it, and there's going to be what you do with it, right? And there's a difference. We're underrepresented in this tech space, right? Some of it is by design, and some of it is just not having, just the lack of information. Mm-hmm. Can I create a tech product for all people? Possibly as an African American, because if we win, we all win. Right. Right? That's my motto. So with the Skyton coin, some of the stuff that I saw was, okay, we can create a currency behind a coin that can fund real estate development deals for people like me and you who can't get access to money, access to capital, just access to a lot of things. And then from a homeowner situation, being in small markets, I've seen people try to go to banks for loans for 80, 60, 50,000, and they'll consider that small balance. So now, for common folk who could afford an $80,000 home, because that is the true value, local banks will not give a mortgage on it. Yep. Right? So our coin is going to create access for all people, meaning when we invest in it, we're not looking to do partnerships with like AMC movie theater or Foot Locker or things like that. No, it's a bigger game here, right? It's what's going to continue to give opportunity to all people. So when you could afford that $90,000 home, our coin could fund that mortgage. As long as you keep paying the mortgage, everything gets funneled back, and the money keeps circulating. So when you look at cryptocurrency, there is no one person. It's not Elon Musk. It's not Mark Zuckerberg. It's none of these guys have control over it. That's why none of them could talk freely about it, because they know it's a people's movement at this point. It's open source, meaning you figure out where you play and you stay there. So we're right back to segregation again. And I'm not talking about segregation with race, just in like-minded individuals, right? So an NFT is nothing more than if I own this NFT, I could eat at this restaurant. This is the game that people are playing. But that's life, guys. There's individual tables here with people sitting at them. There's a sign there for this company, a sign there. So no one's really mixing.
You know, it's very interesting that you say that, because when I look at different types of coins and people who are leading with that specific coin, I try to go back to Bitcoin, and Bitcoin doesn't have an owner, and nobody knows who Bitcoin owns. Do you have any idea of possibly, you know, if it's a government that owns it, or what are your thoughts on that?
And that just goes to show you guys. So you tell me what person would be so comfortable to invest in something that they don't know who the owner is.
Right.
Right? It could be Putin. It could be me. Right? It could be anybody. But the technology behind Bitcoin is what you should look into.
Okay.
Because it has zero case use. It has zero case use. But when you don't know the owner, you don't know who to buy and manipulate.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And I think that's the key and the success to Bitcoin. But Bitcoin is just digital gold at the end of the day. It's where wealthy people are going to park wealth.
You know what's so interesting about that? Last week, I believe, there was a huge crash within the market. But I'm hearing crash, and I'm hearing people made $900 million as well. The market made $900 million. How does that correlate? Okay, it crashed, but people made money. How does that work?
So 90% of our family wealth is in cryptocurrency right now, in different sectors, right? It's a lot. I'm all in. Last week, there's a little bit of backstory to it, but I'll give you the short version of it. Wall Street created this problem last week, right? These guys are coming. Problem, reaction, solution. The problem is these guys don't have a seat at the table right now, right? They're sitting back. They don't own the technology. The reaction is they know they have to get in. So last week, Fidelity and BlackRock, two of the biggest investment firms in the world, invested in a company called Circle. Circle has a product that's linked to USDC. So write this down. USDC is going to be the government-approved stablecoin. Currently, there's a bunch of stablecoins in cryptocurrency. A stablecoin is what's pegged to the dollar, meaning you don't just come in here with the US dollar to buy crypto. You have to buy a stablecoin first and then transfer it to whatever cryptocurrency you want to invest in.
Okay.
BlackRock and Fidelity made a $400 million investment into Circle to back USDC. The stablecoin industry is a $150 billion industry in crypto, so there's a lot of money in here right now, right? Not in their world, but in our world, that's a lot. So USDC is probably second or third right now in market cap for that, to be that digital dollar, basically. They come in and make this investment. A couple days later, they crashed another stablecoin. It was just an algorithm issue. It wasn't a blockchain problem. So when they crashed the stablecoin, what it did was it put fear and uncertainty in the market. Wall Street did what Wall Street usually does, and they come in and they fuck shit up. So they brought the industry to its knees. They crashed this stablecoin, which had about 50 billion in assets. Guys, I know a lot of people I follow that killed themselves. A lot of these young kids committed suicide when they lost their entire net worth. Wall Street made, in an hour, $900 million on that short. But it showed the instability to some of these projects. Problem. Reaction. The solution now is the government intervention. And when you're in our class, I've had videos back in 2000 telling you exactly what's going to happen. So this is where the crypto Moses thing comes into play.
Yeah.
Not self-proclaimed. I'm just telling you. I'm just a guy with information. But I'm the wrong guy that they let in the room, because when I pull back that curtain, I bring people in, right? So for years, I was harping, please, please, please. Now it's just whoever comes, comes. You'll see. So when Wall Street crashed crypto, it created fear and uncertainty in the market, and created a major sell-off. I took a beating. Everybody took a beating. But for me, I've been here. I knew it was coming. Wall Street is going to continue to do this until the federal government comes in to regulate it. But guess who's going to give the federal government the regulations on crypto? Wall Street. So we're right back to the same system again. But like I said, if you're positioned correctly, we can create our own ecosystem that has nothing to do with that one, right? Because when you look at all the currencies, doesn't matter if you have Doge, Shiba Inu, whatever, you're investing in a particular project that you believe in, you're still going to be able to access the world with it. So that's what happened last week.
Yeah, because I'm starting to see right now, often my cousin, he's a software engineer for Google, and he's saying that, you know, you have your Goldman Sachs, you have your JP Morgans, you have your Merrill Lynch, all the big banks and big equity companies, they're creating divisions surrounding crypto. And they're hiring software engineers to come in and create those algorithms specifically for their divisions, I guess, hypothetically, to do exactly what you just said, just to short the market before it gets regulated. So I can already see the shift that's about to happen right now in 2022, and now when we move in further into the year, and into 2023 to 2025, we're going to see a huge, huge shift in cryptocurrency. So right now is the time to join in.
Yeah. So again, when you get the information, I tell my students this all the time. We're not just learning this to learn it, right? A lot of my students are implementing this in their companies that they own now, the technology. We're preparing them. So when you look at the job boards, they're paying you for cryptocurrency consultants $100,000 a year. Blockchain developers, $100,000 a year. So all these positions are here in prime, right? And a lot of people don't know, aren't trained on this technology. So, and even on the trading part, so we trade something called futures within our group, which is similar to trading stock options. The great part about that is I'm building a group of individuals who are trading cryptocurrency before the stock market starts to trade it, right? So now you're going to be, you can call yourself an institutional trader 5 years before this thing becomes like the it thing to do. So there's so much wealth to be made in crypto in so many different ways. And I'm not talking about just money wealth. The technology behind this thing could transcend the way that we do business. So I'll give you an example. There's a company, and write this down, guys. You really should look into investing in this. And I'm going to give you 3 coins right now that if you put a little bit of money behind them, they are going to make you millions of dollars in the next couple years. The first one is XRP, right? When you Google it, you're going to see that these guys are they're in court right now with, they're being sued by the SEC. And the reason for that is you have to bring in the 1,000-pound gorilla, get him in the room and tie him up for as long as you can. XRP, guys, currently, yesterday when I checked, it was like 41 cents. Don't hold me to it, but it's between 40 and 50 cents today. That coin is going to be well worth over $10,000 and beyond per coin, right? So this is my first gift to you, XRP. That's the standard. That's going to be the ledger that everything's built on. This is how money is going to move and circulate throughout the world. They are going to control the ledger. The second one is going to be a blockchain tech company. Right now, Ethereum is number one. Wall Street could come in and they can crush these guys just by telling the federal government what to do. Right? HBAR, HBAR, is going to be a future blockchain. Blockchain is just like the internet. You figure a layer 1 where people can build technology on top of it. That's one of the purposes for a blockchain. HBAR is the second one I want to give to you guys. HBAR. That one's under 10 cents now. Understand? The third one, and it's one of my favorites, it's called VeChain. VeChain. VET is the symbol. VeChain is a piece of technology, so we know that the owner of VeChain was the chief information officer at Louis Vuitton. This guy's a big tech guy. one of the biggest issues with Louis Vuitton is bootlegging. So part of the blockchain, part of the technology behind VeChain is it takes blockchain, it takes information and puts it on the blockchain. Right. So when they start to create, let's say this is a handbag, in the future you'll be able to scan every item and know whether it's real or fake. Okay. Watches, vehicles, luxury items, it doesn't matter. There's upside to that, right? So when you go to purchase a vehicle, so they're working, VeChain is also working with BMW. VeChain's about 4 cents right now, guys. That's a $1,000 company easy. So they're working with BMW right now. When you start to implement these technologies inside of cars, we no longer have to go to a Carfax report. If I'm going to buy your vehicle from you, I scan it with my phone. It can tell me how fast you drove it on average, right? How much rain hit the car, if it's ever been in an accident. It can tell me everything that you've done with it. But that technology could also, there's a dark side to that side, right? Yeah. If you don't pay a parking ticket, they could shut your car off.
You know, it's so interesting that you gave all three of those, and I know we can go on and on and on about the different coins and things for everybody to invest in. But what I want to do is I definitely want to open the floor to those who may have any questions in regards to any cryptocurrency and allow you to answer. If we can keep them strictly on cryptocurrency and be very direct with the questions as we're on a short amount of time, much, much appreciated.
Okay.
So I guess we have a young lady up here.
Okay. Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
I wanted to ask you, you talked about the manipulation, you talked about how it's open source, and I wanted to ask, how with the manipulation, are we supposed to know which one to trust? Like the bigger companies that are coming in, when they own, a certain percentage, like they own the larger percentages, so when they take their money out, and then it causes the cost to drop so much. So how do we know which ones and how to trust that? Because I still feel like it's similar to what we are seeing in the stock market, where the people with the most money are buying the bigger portions of the crypto, and then if they decide to pull their money out, then we lose our money, or we lose the value. You don't have to take it out, but you lose the value.
It's a good question. Remember, 4% of the world population is invested in crypto, so we're nowhere near where we should be in market cap. Right. So when you're seeing these, what we call manipulation in the market, it's free trade, right? I can buy and sell at whatever point I want. At the university, we teach you how to read the projects. We teach you how to read the market cap. So because I know there's probably $300–400 trillion on the sideline waiting, I don't pay too much mind to something going up and down because it hasn't hit that peak yet. So it's all about reading the project and understanding, what's happening in that moment. Because it still is unregulated. So this is why these guys are able to play the way they play with the pricing. But you're always going to have price manipulation in any market. When it comes down to it, the only thing you have to realize is cryptocurrency and everything's so limited, right? So when you talk about Bitcoin, there's only 21 million coins. This is why it's going to trade high. Yeah. Right? Because people know they're holding, and we're not selling at low. So it's all education at the end of the day, and it's everything we do to position you guys to understand like how to play this game, and it's not difficult. So you just have to get with the right people and just make sure the information is constantly flowing amongst us.
Got you. I know we have a second question up here from a young lady as well.
Okay, yes, hi, hello, my name is Leanna. And my first question is, I heard with stocks you have to have $25,000 in your brokerage account to be a day trader. I would like to know how much do you have to have in your crypto wallet to become a day trader? And I know your course talks about futures, but of course, I'm assuming it also is beginner friendly for people who need to know everything from like the ground up.
Yep, good question. So yes, the stock market has made it difficult. Just our financial system has made it difficult for folks who don't have much, right? So there is no minimum to enter crypto. It's all fractional. So even if you wanted to own Bitcoin today at 30K, you don't need 30,000. You can buy 50 cents worth of Bitcoin and dollar cost average in. So it's the coins could be broken down incrementally,
Okay.
right? That's the good part about it. There's no barrier of entry currently in these projects. And then, yes, so the university, we have this, and we're actually just launching it now. We have tremendous amount of ebooks for all levels, but for our 101s, we're just launching a mentorship group boot camp where we put you through everything. Terminology, a strong foundational understanding. We even give you money after you invest in the course to buy particular coins to get you started. So we show you how to open an exchange, how to secure yourself properly within the space. It's a 2-week course. It's about 8 hours.
Yeah.
And then, it could be at your own pace. If you do miss something, everything's pre-recorded, and it's really easy to follow.
Awesome. Well, Steve, thank you so much for enriching everybody in here and educating us on cryptocurrency. The future is now, so we appreciate you and we appreciate Black Enterprise for having us today.
And then just to address the elephant in the room, right? So clearly I'm not 19 Keys, guys. I get this call the other morning at 7 in the morning, right? So it's one of my students who happens to be a good friend of Kevin here. And if anybody knows me at that time, I'm in my meditation room, just at peace, right? So because it was one of my students, I'm like, all right, let me just take the call, right? And he's like, hey, Steve, listen, 19 Keys, had some sort of travel issues and things, and they need a crypto guy to step in. Guys, you got the right person. And listen, nothing against, and I got to take it back a little bit. So the late, great Nipsey Hussle should have been on this stage, right? So I'm going to pay homage now.
Yeah.
I've been involved in crypto since 15. It's probably prior to Nipsey, but what Nipsey did with crypto was introduce it to the streets, right? So Nipsey is probably here in spirit, right? 19 is a tremendous individual, but you got the right person, right? I gave up making a lot of money per month to dedicate my time to teaching, right? Understand this. I gave up a lot of money, guys. I can't trade the way I want to trade, even though I still put out the calls. I pour everything I have into my people because I know how pivotal this point is in history. I don't care who you get the information from when you leave here, just get the information, right? I'm not going to say we're going to close the wealth gap, but I'm going to tell you that my portfolio, the way it's set up now and the way my students' portfolio is set up, we are an economy. Meaning when that white wealth money comes into this space, I don't care what they do with it. I'm cashing out, and I'm going to take care of others, right? You got the right person today. Everything happens for a reason. Understand, everything happens for a reason. Do not feel discouraged. They set up these financial instruments to make it seem difficult. It's not, right? It's not. This new system is going to be the system. The university will show you how you could position your business in this space. You cannot ignore what's about to happen. Thank you for allowing me to sit on this stage.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kevin and Steve. Another round of applause. So we'll see you back here at 12:30 for lunch. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.